biggest station in the world, playing all of today's hits. You're listening to Instinct Radio.
Good evening, everyone. Happy Monday. It's your boy Kevin Thornton, and you are tuned in to the Wellness Architect Show. And tonight's show is going to be very, very amazing. I have two great men on the show tonight. One who's going to talk about we'll talk about a lot of different things current about men and personal development. Also, he has a book coming out, and so we're going to talk about that as well. And this guy I met actually through Tony Gaskins. He had the idea through Tony Gaskins to do a men's group. That was something that's already on my spirit that I wanted to do. Some down here, but I guess the universe said that we want you to go and be part of this guy right here. So when I got the email about the men's group, I applied and said yeah. And I remember being at the studio getting ready to do a show, and he called me. And when he called me, we instantly connected, and he really could feel my energy from that show, from the phone call. And he was like super excited that we're gonna do great things with this men's group. And it's really powerful to have all these men on calls together when I'm available, if I'm not doing a show, to see them try and do different things and be better men, and and have a forum where we could actually talk about different things and not be concerned about being judged and all that kind of stuff. And it's a great men, great opportunities to network, which we're going to talk about, and also elevate ourselves as black men, but also elevate ourselves as a brand, as individuals, and actually come together as men to do things to be empowerment to the community itself and men at large. So I'm very excited to have Mr. Dalton Beckles on the show. How you doing, sir?
I'm all right. I'm all right. I'm glad to be here. How you doing, Mr. Thor?
I'm good to see you. Tell everybody who you are, what you do, and how you get to this point in your life right now.
All right. Well, Dalton T. Beckles. I am a certified life coach. I'm also a clinical director, social worker, and entrepreneur. Life coach, speaker, all of those great things. But this wasn't what my life was like literally over a year ago. Over a year ago, I was struggling in my marriage, struggling in my faith, and struggling in my career. I had been a social worker since 2004. And, I watched my weight balloon. I watched my relationship deteriorate, and got to the point where I recognized something had to change. Mm-hmm. It took a lot. Mm-hmm. New Year's 2016, becoming 2017, me and my wife, we had a small little dog, Midnight, a French bulldog, went missing at midnight.
Wow.
Literally at midnight. And, spent the next day out on the streets looking for him, and I could barely walk, just how tired I was, and just like, man, this can't be life. This is not what God has for me at all. And mm-hmm. I needed some leverage to win, to be completely honest. And from that experience, I started making some changes. I started exercising. I started, kind of pouring and reinvesting into my marriage, mm-hmm. Recommitting to my family. Started working on my first book. Mm-hmm. And a year later, so much has happened. Mm-hmm. I can't even start to tell you, Kevin, how many different things started to happen and to fall into place. I met Tony Gaskins. I read one of his books, mm-hmm. and the book it's called The Dream Chaser. It was just a phenomenal read for me, man. And I ended up reaching out to him and connecting with him. Invited me to come and see him. I went to see him and did some volunteer work with him. And, really just developed a great relationship, just off the strength of that. And, mm-hmm. and he saw my potential. He saw the value that I had. I saw the value in myself, and we started working together, and we created a men's group. I completed my book, Leverage to Win, mm-hmm. And, started just reaching out. I started connecting with people, started reaching out, building up the men's group. And from there, it's just been phenomenal. I started a business called New Hope Clinical Services. Mm-hmm. We provide life coaching. We do counseling. What else do we do? We do some consulting as well.
Okay.
Just pretty much work. I do speaking. I go do some speaking events. I just finished doing a couple of speaking events, and also do some CEU. So I've become just like this busy guy, and
right.
Living the life that I am happy about.
So what did you start doing differently that made you start attracting all these opportunities to you?
Okay, that's really cool because I started to envision success. So if you follow me on social media, you always will hear me talking, or you'll see a comments about envisioning success.
Mm-hmm.
First thing I did was I had to ask myself, what was it that I wanted for my life?
Mm-hmm.
And is this what God had called me to do? Was I living the life that I was supposed to be living?
Right.
And the answer for that was really simply no. I set a simple goal. My simple goal was I want to follow the calling God put on my life. And I felt like that calling was to speak to large groups of people and give them hope. That's where New Hope Clinical comes from. Give them hope. And so in order to do that, I had to lose weight. I had to be comfortable sitting on airplanes. I had to be comfortable getting into small compact cars if I get called out somewhere. I had to be comfortable being able to walk to the front of an auditorium and not be drenched in sweat and not be, struggling to breathe. So I knew I had to start to exercise. I had to lose weight. And so the very first thing I did was I just cut out soda and I started drinking water. Yeah. Just drinking as much water as I could. I was like, at least try to get 8 glasses a day of drinking water. And I would celebrate my accomplishment at the end of the week by, having some juice. And here's the crazy part. It took me 7 days of drinking straight water. And I had so much energy. I didn't even think it was possible that I would have as much energy as I had.
Right. That's crazy because, along with being a life coach, I'm a health coach, and that's the one thing I try to pour into, especially the men. The men really don't do their best job and try to take care of themselves. But I do want to congratulate you. I did see some of your pictures. Yeah. And so for who you are, where you at now, and the pictures I saw today when I was on your page, I said, okay, he putting in the work. So, and I see your videos on Instagram when you at the gym. So that's cool. I congratulate you.
Yeah. So it's really about envisioning success. You got to have a dream. One of the things that really shocked me, and this is for because I have a strong passion for working with men and getting men to dream, believe, act, and they will achieve. So it made me think about kind of the parable of the talents. And I was recognizing that God had given me so many talents, and if I didn't use them, I was definitely going to lose them, and I didn't want to lose them. And so that's really how I was able to start to really build on following that calling. Like, I don't want to be that person that loses those gifts and those talents that I was given.
I'm gonna tell you this. I don't think I never said this to you on the phone or when I introduced myself in the group, men's group. In 2017, Memorial Day of 2017, I got bit by a poisonous spider. So it had me in the hospital for about a month. I never got sad or disappointed or like, why me? I knew it was all ordained about what he wanted for me to do. And so he wanted me to rest, for one, and two, I was a fitness instructor along with all the other stuff I was doing. And I had a battle with him saying he wanted me to tone that down because he had other things that he wanted me to do. Yeah. And I refused to do it. So since I refused to do it, he forced me to do it. Yeah. And so I understood that. Other people didn't understand that, but I understood it. And once I had released that and started to really focus on let him guide me, what he wanted me to do, like the radio show started to really pick up and all these opportunities coming along. And it's like, even though health is my passion and life coaching is my passion, but then it's like, okay, I want you to use this platform to really use it to inspire, educate, and empower people to be the best. And, since I am passionate about men, that's where you came along. Because he wanted me to be with other like-minded individuals, so together we could be a powerful force to empower black men to be great. And so I want people to understand is, your journey. I mean, you can't always be in control of your journey because a lot of times what you want for yourself is not what he wants for you. And so, I really, so I'm looking forward for us, as a group, learn from each other, but also come together and do some things as a group to really, empower black men all across the country. So.
Yeah, and the best part about it is that this is exactly what my book is about, because, when you identify that calling, that purpose, and you start to walk in it, the opportunities come up. And that's how you get the leverage to win. How would I have been able to say, hey, let me get on the instinct radio. How would I get connected with Kevin unless I actually followed that call and reached out to Tony, built that relationship?
Right.
We wouldn't be where we are right now. And so it's by following the calling that you get that leverage to win, because the other people around you will start to give you the leverage you need to succeed.
Exactly, because when you talk to go and get on GroupMe, and I start to look and see who I was in it. I saw Uncle Reese being part of the group. And I'm like, I know that dude. I said, I play his music in my spin class. So I reached out. I said, are you the Christian rapper? And he was like, yeah. I said, I played your music in my spin class, all this kind of stuff. And I sent him a message privately and asked him, can you do my show? And he was like, absolutely. I'm like, so I like you said, that would never have happened,
right,
if I didn't follow my my calling. So, what's the name of your book, and what's the book about, and how can people get it?
Absolutely. So the name of the book is Leverage to Win, and it's key relationships all men need to succeed. Mm-hmm. Now, I wrote the book, like I told you, my passion is around providing hope for men, but it's definitely a book that everyone, it doesn't matter who you are, mothers, fathers, sisters, brothers, male, female, they can all benefit from. Mm-hmm. And so, the book kind of looks at these key relationships. It looks at fathers, friendships, family, and faith. These are all key relationships that we need to be successful to succeed. Exactly. It's a call for men to return to the homes, to return to their communities, and to return to succeeding. It really is that kind of a call for the community, the church, and for the family. The book literally starts off by talking about fathers, because as a population, we have the highest rate of single parents right now, single mothers raising sons, raising daughters, raising both, and it's astonishing. I started to do some research for the book because I started off by just talking about my father and all of the benefits that I had, and the book literally kind of started off with me at first, kind of talking about how he wasn't there, but then the more I started to write and really started to process my upbringing, was the more I recognized not only was my father there, but he gave me so much leverage to win. He gave me so many skills and so many tools that I needed. And then when I reached out to some other guys whose father either were or were not there, you recognize, oh, well, this guy's father was like this. And so he chose to be completely opposite because he wanted to win. So even though the father may not have been there, there were certain things that happened that he learned that gave him the leverage to do something different and to be successful. And so, I mean, finding out the statistics of how important fathers are, man, that really changed a lot for me. And it really made it a passion that says, look, we got to get back into our homes. We got to be there for our kids. We got to be there for our wives. We got to be there for our significant others, and really just make something different happen and change the narrative, because we're there. Right. There are men who are in these homes. There are men that are in the communities, but that's just not what's talked about. That's not what the label is. Not at all. And so I wanted to write something that allowed us to do that, to look at our friends and who we kind of lean on. One of my favorite quotes that I kind of, for lack of better words, that I kind of made up was that, when a son or a daughter is not connected to their father, a percentage of who they are is left undefined, and it's kind of left open to the influence of the people around them, to the men that are around them. So you hear all the time, like, the streets raised me, or this rapper raised me, or the gang members, that's my family. Those are the people who raised me. When, there are other father figures, there are other people that have been in their lives that give us the leverage to win. And I wanted to make sure that we tapped into that as a resource to be successful.
I like that. I really like that. So, what do you think when people say that the government make it to where they want to divide the family in the first place? I guess like with Section 8, I think it might be Section 8, that the man can't be present in the household in order for them to get Section 8. What do you think about that?
Well, I mean, I don't think this is the first time. I think that if you really look at life, and all the way back to slavery, this is definitely not the first time. This is probably the fourth or fifth time. You look back to the Great Depression, you look back to the wars where the men are out of the home. So we've established a sense of reliability on other people besides men. That has, and it's not just, left to African American men. It's just it's just the natural expectation at this point, because it allows us to be more reliant on others rather than on each other for survival, you know. And so I definitely believe that that's true. I think that that is a huge impact in how we're raising, you know, our children now. And I think we're seeing the effects of that in how we handle our politics and how we handle our schools. You know, like the violence that's been increasing in some places where you would never expect to see violence is, to me, can be directly linked to the lack of fathers in the home, lack of, you know, families, you know, being all together at the same time.
Right. So what do you think when people say that when men, I'll use men, when men say that who they are is because, or what they're doing in their lives is because the father was not present. And and some people some people feel that's an excuse, but it could also be a reality. Which is what you think?
Man, that is literally chapter 1 of the book. I was one of those people that thought that it was an excuse. Like, I'm so tired of hearing, like, all you hear is, you know, my father wasn't there. When the reality is, it's not an excuse. It's true.
It's true.
It is absolutely true. But I will say the caveat is that there are father figures, and father figures do not get enough enough credit, and they're not given enough value. There's so many, you know, my father was present. He was in our home, you know, but I still had other father figures. I had my uncles. I had my track coach when I was in elementary school. You know, these are people that you don't forget. Your coaches, your therapist. You know, if you had a therapist. We've had father figures. My grandfather was such an important person in my life growing up, and some of the things, you know, the things that he instilled in me, you know, not even by telling me, but just how he acted and how he treated his grandchildren and how he treated his family. You know, those things make a difference. You know, for example, you know, it wasn't until I was at my grandfather's funeral that I found out that he and I shared the same middle name. You know, when you know that you carry a legacy, and you know that you carry someone's name and who is so well respected, it just gives you a sense of confidence that you want to do something well. You want to carry that name with pride. You know, and like just knowing that gave me leverage to win, because it made me want to make him proud. It made me want to carry that name with respect and with gratitude and appreciation.
So, why was it so important to you to create this men's group?
Okay. So the men's group. I don't think men talk enough.
No.
You know, I'm working on a YouTube channel now, trying to put together my first YouTube channel. And one of the first things I talked about is, you know, getting married and not really not being sure of what to expect, but thinking I had it all together. And not, you know, I would try to reach out. I had a couple of friends that I would try to reach out to and wasn't really getting any real helpful feedback. You know, I found that I was the one talking about my struggles and what I was dealing with, but not really getting anything in return. I needed that. I still need it. I can't do it on my own. And I think that we're left to do a lot of things on our own. And, you know, we're failing. I was failing in my marriage. I was failing, Kevin. Like, you know, I wasn't being the husband that I should have been. I wasn't being the father that I should have been. And my brothers, you know, the men should have been able to pull me and say, hey, look, you know, I get what you're saying, but look, there's some other things you need to take a look at, because I would have valued and I would respect that. And so putting together a men's group allows us to have a place to be able to talk about some things and get some of that information that we don't necessarily always get. Because I can't get it all from my father. You know. You know, I'm like him. I need to hear from other people. Other people got to help us uplift each other, encourage each other to keep going forward, because this world is ours. It's ours, and we can't keep giving it to other people.
Exactly. I think, and my reason why I was so passionate about it is because of an experience. Before I became a life coach, I got coached. And so I got coached by Iana Van Zant and her team. And she, back in the day, it was said in my chapter of the book I co-authored, where I was going to the gym and I listened to Michael Basin, and she had a section, she had a part on her show every Wednesday. So this particular Wednesday, she said that the Spirit put on her to do a 9-week free coaching for the first 100 black men. And I was one of the ones, and it changed my life completely. It changed my life completely for where I ended up going in my journey, but then it changed my life for how I saw men.
Yeah.
And why I became more passionate about men, because that 9-week experience, to see these men on a call cry, and because the father wasn't there, or cry because they were molested by the mother's boyfriend, and the mother chose the boyfriend over to them, it was like painful. And so it made what was my issue minute. It was my issue, but it was minor compared to what these brothers was going through. And and for them to feel comfortable enough to have these conversations with other men and not be concerned about being judged if they break down and cry, I felt that it was needed. Yeah. And so I'm like, and I think we gotta try to create a safe space to where people can feel like they can have a conversation, and we as men are not gonna judge them or however they feel. I can't. Sometimes, I be so busy, but I do read a lot of stuff that's in the chat, and I'm like, dang, okay, these guys is like, for real, they're going through it.
They're going through it.
And I'm like, okay, so this is our opportunity, you and I and everybody else, to be like, okay, what do we need? What can we do for you? How can we help you? And
this is just the beginning. So the goal is not just to start with having a safe place to talk. The goal is to create almost a movement, like a literal movement where we are reconnecting people with fathers and father figures, and we are building a nation of men that are supporting each other, that are uplifting each other, that are changing the narrative of what's out there for all men, not just for African Americans, but for all men.
Exactly.
Let's change the narrative. I want to, the goal is to get to the point where we can set up workshops, and we can have men and their fathers and their father figures come together and start to build and uplift, and really make a difference. And so,
Absolutely.
Even when people talk about us and, us both being coaches and us both, being therapists, we need to work together. Absolutely. There's definitely enough food for everyone to eat. The problem is we got too many people trying to cook, and they're trying to cook on a low fire, and it's time to raise the heat.
I agree. And before, I know we got to cut it out short for you, but why is it so important? Because we don't network. Why is it so important for us to network?
When I think about all of the successful people out there currently, I have not heard one of them who did it independently. And then the higher up you go, if you notice, everybody's working together. I think the first place I saw it was actually in movies. When I started to see, like, Adam Sandler, a group of men started to kind of be a part of each other's movies, literally working together. They're doing all of their movies together. And everyone's having a good time. And I started to say to myself, why don't we do that in our communities? Why is it that we're not doing that in our communities? We're not building together. We're not connecting together. Networking is the key to growth.
Right.
And it takes people like Tony Gaskins. It takes people like you, Kevin, to be open to sharing and to building, because what it does is that it doesn't limit you. It actually grows you.
Right.
And it grows you. It allows you to be able to do more and to reach more. And so when you have that vision, you have that goal, and you know that your goal is to help others and to improve other people's lives, you can't do that by yourself. Right. And the moment you start to connect and network with other people is the moment things start to actually develop and things get accomplished. Right. I couldn't tell you how I got to where I got, and even in this moment to be connected the way that I am, and to be able to have the opportunities that I've had. Right. None of those things were happening for me at all before I started to actually follow the calling.
And it's funny because, I have been a follower of Tony Gaskins, forever. And I have read The Dream Chaser, because that was something that I wanted to follow. And so when that opportunity came, I knew that was like God and the universe saying, okay, I'm about to elevate you to another level right now. If you play your cards right with this situation and really be active and network and do what you're supposed to do, not just take, but also give. So that's why the first thing I said to y'all is certain ones that I knew, like coaches or whatever, I'm going to reach out to y'all because I want all y'all to be on my show, because like you said, it benefits y'all, but it also benefits me at the same time because we both elevate each other at the same time. But I when you got me really hyped up with the whole movement, because that's what I want. I want it to be a movement, and now that I see your vision about what you're trying to do with it, I'm all aboard. So we're gonna cut. I want you to tell people what's on your spirit to the audience, and then we're gonna have you back on next month. We're gonna have you on for the full 2 hours because I could talk to you forever. So whoever you got something to say, just tell everybody, and then
I still got some stories for you too.
Oh no.
we got some stuff to talk about, but I will leave it real simple, man. One of my favorite quotes is the moment I dared to dream, the nightmare ended. Mm-hmm. And I hold that so dear because we all dream, we all have these, but most of us are living a nightmare until the moment we take a chance on ourselves. Everyone has to recognize that you are worth the risk. Mm-hmm. Take a chance on yourself and chase. The only thing worth chasing right now is your dream. Chasing after a relationship, chasing after money, chasing. That's the only thing that's worth it. Right. And so I highly recommend that. Please don't forget, you can check me out on my website because I got some new information coming.
All right. So when does the book come out and how can they get it?
So the book will be out in literally 2 weeks, but you can go on my website. You can send me an email. I will send, the first 50 people that reach out to me, between now and next week, I'll send you an autographed copy. Kevin, your book is already on the way, so you don't even got to worry about it.
All right. All right. I got you.
But, first 50 people who reach out to me, I'll send you an autographed copy. Email me, I'm Dalton@newhopeclinical.com. You can find me on Instagram and see me as I transition. My goal is to drop another 85 pounds this year. So I'm saying it out loud so everybody knows to check on me, make sure I'm working towards my goal.
I will, sir.
And the goal is to sell 5,000 copies of Leverage to Win. And I know that we can do it, and so, we're stepping out on faith and we're pushing this and we're going to take it as far as it can go. Because it's a part of what God called me to do. Yes, sir.
I look forward to working with you this year and beyond. And I'll have you back on next month. We'll talk more in detail about everything. Congratulations on your book. Congratulations on everything you're doing. And great things going to happen for the men's group and us as individuals.
Yo, I appreciate it. I'm looking forward to it.
All right, brother. I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Take care.
You too. All right, come on, Music Monk, brother.
Okay.
What's going on, sir? Music Monk ATL. So I told y'all I had two great men on the show for today. So I had Mr. Dalton Beckles, and we had a great conversation for his first half an hour. We had a slight confusion. He typed something on, he did a text to me, and he said that he's only ready to do the first half an hour. I instantly called this brother and was like, "Can you do the show?" And so next thing I know, I got a text from him saying that he wrote it wrong. He said he could be there by 7:30 and do the rest of the show. By the time I already had him, and I didn't want to cancel, so I said I just put you back on. And so I got this brother on here because I've talked to him several times. We do Lair's show, and I've always talk about wellness of all types, and one of the things that I'm a big proponent of is music, and I want to talk to you about music and the relationship it is with wellness. So first of all, tell everybody who you are, what you do, okay. How'd you become the Music Monk ATL?
Well, first of all, brother, thank you.
You welcome.
Let me get a handshake from you, brother. Appreciate you. Yes, I am Music Monk ATL. Honestly, man, this from a long time ago, man. As a kid, I just always had that connection with music, right? Mm-hmm. Kind of like from a feeling and from like an analytical standpoint. Mm-hmm. and I knew that it was always a manifestation of something like a higher like spiritual vibration, right? So Music Monk came about like somebody else called me a music monk, and I'm just like, and I was thinking to myself like, you know, anybody can be a music monk. Like it doesn't like, you know, to clarify for some people, it doesn't mean that I know everything about music,
Right?
Because I don't.
Right.
like no one can know everything about music, right? I just want to learn as much as I can. So it's not a competition. It's not about lining me up against somebody and test my musical acumen. I feel like I know some things, but not nearly. Like you have to be everywhere to know everything.
But it seems that to me, in the time I have known you, and I feel that I know a lot about music, but your range of music goes from all across all type of genres.
yeah.
And you knowledgeable about a lot of different genres. I'm knowledgeable on, you know, R&B, some hip hop. You really know the hip hop. And
you know, my relationship with hip hop has kind of been, you know, if we want to talk about wellness, you know, I feel like I definitely feel like hip hop has had an effect on our community, like our mental health, and understanding how vibrations work and understanding how music works and how it like kind of seeps into your soul. The things that we're listening to on a regular basis, we don't even realize that we may be, you know, like may start acting out those things or may absorb. For example, DMX had a string of number 1 albums, right, in the early 2000s, right? One of the greatest MCs of all time, right?
Right.
Music was really fucking dark. I mean, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's really dark. I apologize. It was really dark. You know what I mean? It's really, 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 really dark music, and it's one of those things where if you're in that mode, you'll listen to it, and you will start to absorb and manifest what you believe to be like this true feeling. So I just feel like, I mean, you know, like I do rock with hip hop, but I was kind of disappointed in hip hop for a while because I felt like we kind of let other entities take over what our message was.
Right.
And then also the competitiveness that we have in hip hop, I feel like is not progressive. It's not, you know, I feel like there's room for everybody.
Right.
I feel like there's room for trap music and lyricism or however you deem, because there is some lyrical aspects of trap music. I feel like there's room for all of those things. I feel like I heard I want to say it was maybe Ice Cube. Okay, I'm just going to pay homage to the OG. I'm going to say it was Ice Cube, and he was just saying that, you know, the back and forth, you don't see, and maybe it wasn't him, but you don't see, you know, the Beatles competing with the Stones, and you know, and the Stones competing with, you know, the Who, you know what I mean, or Led Zeppelin. Like they don't have that. You know, there's almost like once you age and you progress, you've earned like kind of like a tenure, like a cultural tenure that allows you to still tour and create a cult following and still be able to slip new material in there. But for the most part, people revere and respect your older material, right?
Right.
Hip hop not like that.
Right.
Hip hop is, we're still trying to define, we still have a divide amongst, you know, the young people in music that came out 10 years ago or 15 years ago. If we see it as a smoother progression, I think for our mental health and for our relationships in our community, it won't be as adversarial if we tune into how music can heal us. But if we continue to make things, and I'm specifically chiming in on hip hop because it's overly competitive,
Right.
For no reason, and it kind of, you know, we kind of tear each other down. Like if I hear anybody say anything bad about what Atlanta has done in music just right now, then to me, when you listen to people say that, it kind of proves the point that we have a very, very short memory when it comes to the influence that music has had in our lives, especially from a regional standpoint. I know you can remember, you know, where you were at a particular time when you heard music or you heard a particular song, and I feel like to discredit someone or a particular art form or even an album or an artist just because their moment to shine was 99
Right.
or 2002.
Right.
And I'm talking about for black music.
Right.
I feel like it's a problem.
It is.
Now Frankie Beverly and Maze, they touring. They gonna tour for another until that man voice crack out. They gonna tour, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So if we can extend that same respect and reverence to an artist like Frankie Beverly and Maze or the Isley Brothers, who are still touring off of the strength of doing real music,
Right.
then we got to give the younger people a chance. And then if you're willing to give somebody a chance musically, because everybody feel like they know everything about music.
Right.
So if you can back yourself away from your own ego and be like, you know what, I'm gonna check this out, you'll be surprised how you'll be able, how much better you will feel, and you won't be so quick to listen for a rebuttal. Because music, just like a movie, it forces you to digest. You know what I mean?
Now, the need for like quote unquote real music is kind of hard, especially real R&B is kind of hard.
All right.
Because a lot of it's not really played on like V103, too much stuff like that. So if you're looking for V103 to play how the music of like the 90s, the Drew Hills, the Music Soul Childs, all them, you're not gonna hear it that much now. And so now it's like if you want to hear, it's not that it's not out there.
Right.
You gotta be, you have to go on the internet and try to find it most of the time. So, what you think?
That is true. That is true. It's a couple of different things in there that you said though. You talked about R&B, you talked about the 90s, and I wrote this in my notes, bro. Okay. I just want to let you know I did come prepared. So I wrote my little notes out, and at the very top I'm talking about like what what made me love, there you go. 90s R&B. But before I go into that, our exposure to music is really predicated on like where we live. Because just the way that, the higher corporations, they pay people to discover trends and things in the market. Music is kind of the same way, but the radio is so dominated, especially in Atlanta. Atlanta's a huge market, but it's not really, because when you think about it, I think we have 3 old school stations already. Playing the same old school music, and now old school is like mid-90s up now, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we have like 3 of those stations. We have like, like the grown folks radio, the Magic 102s and the 104.1s.
Right.
And then you have, the 94.5, and that's, the millennial demographic. And then you have the staple V103.
Right.
And its perennial competitor 107.9, right?
Right.
So you only hear what the companies are funneling down to us for us to hear. Like if it's that artist time, it's going to be that artist time. You know what I mean? And they'll give you an opportunity. Now some feedback does go into it. Like they'll give you an opportunity, but they might play your song, at 2 a.m. or something. You know what I mean? Right. Or at a time when it's not like like peak audience. But my point is that smaller markets, you find out more about the up and coming artists and more of a variety of music when you go to somewhere like Macon.
Okay.
You know what I mean? You go right outside the reach of V103's antenna because they have a strong signal. So you got to drive. You got to drive down past Tanger Outlet or something to get away from V103. But once you do, you'll find that there are smaller markets and medium. I call them medium markets, where you can find out different artists that you may hear on a iTunes playlist or Pandora, or I love Google Play and Spotify. But you'll hear those up and coming artists to see if they can gain traction, and you have to understand that there's just levels to it. So if you're only looking to discover artists that are projected, they have a money machine behind them. They have a rollout, a team behind them. So you're going to see those artists. The artists that don't have the team, the artists that got their mom back there selling T-shirts and merch and everything, those are ones you got to hunt for a little bit more. But it's a lot of them.
How'd you find out about Childish Gambino? I know that's your dude.
Hey man. I think my I'm gonna have to take a sip on that one. my my fandom, my love for Bino, man, came from and I know in the past 4 years I done wore Bino out with some folks. I'm talking about, I know they probably was like, it's just certain. I think I'm one of those people, like, I think no matter what, like, if you think Outkast, like when I was growing up, like college and high school and everything, if you think Outkast, you're gonna be like that dude right there. Bino is now one of those artists for me. Like, you gonna be hard pressed to not think about me, because I just advocate for him so hard because I believe in his genius. But at first he had been out for a while, and I thought the name was kind of weird, and I don't know what movement I was on at the time, but it wasn't. I was upset with hip hop. Speaking from earlier, and I felt like hip hop had let us down. You know, there was a lot of misogyny, a lot of money grab, just a lot of just different stuff that I wasn't really about. And then Outkast wasn't really putting anything out. Right. So I was trying to find a void from Outkast not being out. Right. And I found it in a couple of artists. Gnarls Barkley came out. Yeah. That was amazing. Yep. I found out that they're back in the studio. Yep. Shouts out to GB, man. That was like classic music, right? And then there were a couple of other groups that came out, but nothing really stuck. Right. Well, you know what? Frank Ocean. Yeah. Frank Ocean. Yeah. Frank Ocean came out, and I was like, man, this dude is like a prolific songwriter. Exactly. But then I heard, okay, so we do the concert in Atlanta, right? The Outkast concert. And I remember me and my best friends, you know, we're looking at the lineup and we're thinking, you know, when you think Outkast, you immediately expect to see Goody Mob. Like, it's just like it's a tandem, right? Right. We didn't see Goody Mob. We saw the first show, the Saturday show, was Rory, Childish Gambino, and Kid Cudi. And, you know, we all up in arms because, you know, we some real dungeon rats, you know what I mean? We some true AT-aliens for real. So we like, nah, man, you know, like we upset. And we do like this little song or whatnot, and we talking about why we felt like we've been let down. And I never felt so stupid. You know what I mean? Because I understood what they were trying to do by having these artists. So get to Childish Gambino, and he's like an amazing performer. So, you know, like I'm bobbing my head and everything, you know, but I'm not like going in. I'm just kind of just enjoying myself. You know, I had great company with me. I'm about to see Outkast, so I'm like really like, let's hurry up and get to Outkast. Right. And then Bino comes on, and the array of sounds. I mean, his bass was knocking harder than Outkast bass. Wow. You know what I'm saying? He had some songs, and I was just like, what is this? And he had a song called Bonfire, and he was just talking about how he's the best actor turned rapper. And when he said it, I kind of agreed with him. And from that point, I was his mixtapes, comedy special, like I just kind of just went crazy. And it was kind of like that with Jimi Hendrix too. Like it's not a lot of artists that I've just gone crazy like that over, but
so who are the artists that you go crazy over? I know Outkast. And you know, cause I'm a big fan of them too. Yeah. And I remember when we was out after the Tuesday, we was all at Bakari's, and I think it was you who had them play Bombs Over Baghdad.
Nah, I don't know. I don't know whether or not my energy may have just willed that brother to hit the ones and twos, but being in the West End and being from Atlanta, not ever hearing Outkast, hardly ever when you go somewhere. I think we hear it more now. But you know, there's been so many other genres that have been pushed forward ahead of them, and I understand it. You know, their sound is very specific and unique, but nah, man, he just went in. Yeah. Nah, the DJ at Bakari's goes in. Like, he was going in last Tuesday too.
Yeah, because he played that. That's one of my favorites.
Yeah. Bombs Over Baghdad is a great song. It was actually voted #1 song of the 2000s, right? #1 track of the 2000s. Now this was Pitchfork, so you know you can kind of take that however you want to, but. You know, I remember when they shot that video. I remember when I heard it. I remember the backlash of it being Bombs Over Baghdad at a time and point where, you know, we had the thing in 9/11 going on. And it was banned for a while. I remember at that point, if you ever doubted Dre as being like the greatest lyricist ever, like, I mean, you can't after that. I mean, Bombs Over Baghdad for real.
That's my favorite.
But
So who else is in your range?
So Outkast, Jimi Hendrix, Badu, some older stuff. Before I really got into Outkast, it was I can remember making Isley Brother and Al Green and Isaac Hayes little tapes.
Yeah.
Listening to them on the school bus.
Yep.
And so all of those, definitely Al Green. Like Al Green, like I think Isley Brothers and then like my brother, like my best, you know what I'm saying, one of my best friends, Mr. Coy Lee put me on Jimi Hendrix one summer, and I bought a guitar and lost my mind. But it was something about the pain and the genuineness that I felt in Al Green's voice, and it was something about the carefree rock star attitude, the smoothness of Ronald and Ernie Isley and Isaac Hayes. Man, that's Black Moses. Right. So I was good with them, and Lenny Kravitz. Yeah. Ventured into Lenny Kravitz. That was the first CD I ever owned, was Are You Gonna Go My Way?
Really?
It's the first CD I ever owned. Yep, first CD. I still have it to this day, man. It's a great classic CD.
Yep.
You really, really hear more of the Beatles' influence on him early on in his career. Then once 5 came out, he kind of became his own artist. That's like his most successful album. But who else? Sade, Goody Mob. Recently, man, I've been listening to The Doors.
Okay.
I've been listening to The Doors a lot. I've been listening to Black Keys. I have a thing about duos. Okay. So if it's 2 of them, I'm like, wow, like, like it's impressive to me, because I'm like, you have to have a certain dynamic to be able to get like a lot of sound from 2 people, or just even like a balance in creativity. So yeah, definitely Outkast. Gnarls Barkley is another great duo. Tenacious D. You know what I mean? Like, I'm really kind of open to a lot of different stuff. But I had to tell myself to not say that I listen to everything, though.
Okay. So if you're in a somber mood, what do you play?
Somber mood. Like, do I want to come out of the somberness?
Yeah.
Okay, I want to come out of it. Why am I somber? This thing deep, man. There's levels to this
you
tell
me.
You know what I mean? Like, why am I somber? You know what? Well, my favorite album of all times, as we like to say sometime, is Voodoo.
Okay.
By D'Angelo.
Yes.
That album, I feel like, over everything that I've heard, it just resonates with me a particular way.
Okay.
So, like I can throw that on right there and just do whatever. You know what I mean? Like I done whatever.
Okay.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
So let's say you at the crib and you get ready to go out and you trying to get hyped.
Going out.
You trying to get hyped.
Trying to get hyped.
Which you play?
Just for like sonic quality beats, probably Travis Scott.
Okay.
I like Travis's. I like his approach to his production style. I like how he stays in his own lane. I like how he puts things together. And I feel like all of these artists exist on a spectrum. You know what I mean? But his particular lane, I feel like, has a lot more potential for growth and more musicality. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like this brother pick up some instruments, man. It might be game over for a lot of folks. Like, he's really, but when you limit yourself by, either you're not going to play instruments or you got to be Kanye. Kanye is like the only person I can think of that doesn't play instruments that will get the credit for automatically having like that instrumental mind. But I think if Travis picked up instruments,
right,
even if it was the drums or something, just something to kind of add another layer to him.
So what if you was at home just relaxing and you just in a relaxed state, what do you play?
Do I want to sing? Am I trying to sing? Am I trying to clean?
and that all play a part.
Probably something like Awaken My Love. which is Childish Gambino's last album.
Okay. So what I just did was I tried to take you through a spectrum of different emotions or feelings and see how, just to show everybody, depending on where you are in your mood, you're gonna play a different type of music. That different type of music is gonna feed that soul for where you at that present moment.
Right.
So how did you fall in love with the R&B music of the 90s?
I fell in love with it because I thought I could sing a little bit growing up. Truth be told, I do all right now.
Right.
Just all right. But nah, man, I have a lot of love, you know what I mean? Like I've always been like a sensitive guy, you know what I mean? I've always been very in tune and been able to speak well when it comes to, you know what I'm saying, just talking about different stuff like that. And when I was listening to R&B music, because I didn't really start listening to like R&B heavy till like the early 90s, because like that's when it really hits. Like 10 years in music is like 30 years in music, because you have, not only do you have cultural advances, but you have technological advances and stuff like that, right? Which aids in production, right? But with the 90s, it started off with Jodeci.
Yeah.
And for me, it wasn't so much Forever My Lady. I think that's a little bit older, because I think that was 92. 90. Yeah, that was a little bit earlier. And Diary of a Madman for me and my boys, you know what I'm saying?
I like that one too.
That jam, you know what I mean?
Forever My Lady, that one was mine.
Yeah.
So, I am a little bit older than you.
Yeah, and then from there, I think shortly thereafter, there was another sound in R&B that came in, and that was through Timbaland's production. So you saw another shift sonically with the Blackground sound, and Aaliyah's One in a Million, Genuine's Pony. One of my favorite, most underrated groups of the 90s was Playa. They only did one album. Yeah. But that Playa album,
it was tight.
Woo!
Yeah.
Memories, man. Yeah. So I mean that's kind of like that's where I learned. I think that's where I started storing up a lot of just how I felt, like a lot of emotion. Yeah. Had never really been able to emote like that.
I think for the men now, it's hard for them to find unless you go back into the 90s and maybe early 2000s or further back. Songs are not created no more that you could use to express how you feel. A lot of men we're not very expressive, and so maybe except for you, maybe. I'm not.
I'll be messing that too.
I work on it, but back in the day when I was dating this young lady, I created a playlist, and that playlist was like a story of how like I met her. I wouldn't know where we at, so I used Beauty. I put like Baby I'm Ready by The Vert and all that kind of stuff. So it was good. Those songs was able to speak to how I felt at that moment.
Right.
There's not a lot of songs out there nowadays that could do that for me. What's your thoughts?
There are.
Okay. Where will we find it at?
You have to find them within yourself.
All right. Okay. I see.
Okay.
I see.
Okay. That's where you find them at. And so when you listen, that's what allows you to have a broad palette when it comes to music, right? Is to not necessarily be so rigid in how something comes to you, but absorb and listen, because it may not be the whole song, but it may be a lyric that one lyric may define exactly how you feel or your life or anything, right? But sonically it may not sound like what our image is supposed to look like.
Right.
So that's why I reject a lot of those notions. Like if I feel like listening to some Lady Antebellum or some Van Perry, or you know what I'm saying, I don't go too deep in the country, but I respect the songwriting and I respect the instrumentation of country music. So yeah, I would definitely, Valerie June, you know what I mean? If I don't say Valerie June, the Civil Wars, another duo, you know what I mean? But it's like a bluegrass country hybrid. I think they recently broke up, but You know what I mean? It's a feeling. You know what I mean? It's a feeling that you get from various songs, and if you only limit yourself to something that gives you one beat, then you only gonna be able to roll in that one circle. You know what I mean? You only gonna be able to adapt to that one feeling. You may be stuck. You may be like, man, like I'm trying to get out of this rut. Well, you only listening to this.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Put something else. Try something that you've never experienced before. So, you know, but what you said when you was talking about the playlist, man, like,
yeah,
you got me with that one. You got me because, you know, I can remember probably something that I always remember would be a playlist. I ain't, you know, I've had one playlist made for me, and I'll never forget that playlist.
Yeah,
I'll never forget that.
Valentine's Day, and I created a playlist, made it to a CD, put a picture of me, put Valentine's Day.
Oh, you went all in.
Yeah, man, made my own little basket and all that kind of stuff, and it just I was able to use songs that, you know, like Music Soul Child was that one dude for me too, because he created those songs that I could, you know, that's really spoke to me, like Teach Me, So Beautiful, all that kind of stuff. And, you know, Drew Hill, you know, Boys to Men and Josie were my dudes, but then Drew Hill came along, and then they was killing the game for me too as well. So, cause they sang some songs that, you know,
killing it.
Yeah, man,
killing it.
You know, and so, you know, what's on your playlist right now?
Black Panther soundtrack.
I know. I was.
Man,
is it that good? Who?
Man,
now that's Kendrick.
Man, all right. So I had like an hour-long conversation with my broski about this yesterday, and you know, I mean, I've been listening to it. I've seen the movie twice, so I don't really want to talk about the movie per se. Yeah. But the soundtrack, I've spoken to my contemporaries, and I've also spoken to people a little bit older than me, right? Who've also heard the album, and we've been hard pressed to find an album inspired by, with music accompanying the movie, that's as good as this soundtrack. Now my one boy TSI was like, that American Gangster, and I understand some elements of American Gangster being a great movie inspired, but that also had a soundtrack to it as well, like an original motion picture soundtrack. And it was just Jay-Z. And I can't really think of anything right now that is like a mainstay in the lexicon, right? Like from that album. The concept was great, and it kind of helped Jay-Z out. It kind of helped him, you know what I mean, kind of keep some things going. But far as the music, you know what I mean, I don't know if it's I think the music was kind of singular. Like you had to be kind of a Jay-Z fan. Right. Or a fan of that genre, American Gangster type of thing. Right. This Black Panther, even though it has certain connotation to it, sonically, man, it was put together and like it was great. You know what I mean? Like it's just a really, really, really great well, let me not say, you gotta be careful with your words. Really, really good project. I'm not gonna say great. I'm still listening to it, but I'm gonna say
so really who all on the album?
Who's obviously it was curated and executive produced by Kendrick Lamar. So he starts it off, and then you have and I'm not, these are in no particular order, but you have 2 Chainz, The Weeknd, who else is on here? Ab Soul is on here, Schoolboy Q is on here. SZA's on here, obviously. James Blake is on here. Like when I found out James Blake was on here, I was just like, wow, you know, because James Blake is that's also another one. When you want to step outside of traditional R&B music and you want to hear soulful music, but not necessarily R&B, then that's when you start venturing into your Toro Imoy's, your James Blake, your Bon Iver's, you know what I mean? Even that Justin Timberlake album, from what I've heard, I haven't listened to it yet, is along the lines of a Bon Iver who did a lot of work with Kanye West. But yeah, the Black Panther soundtrack, man, It's a banger. Like it's really a banger. And a couple of songs kind of give me that feeling. You know what I mean? And then I was doing some more research and I found out that the another one of the key contributors to the album is a guy named Ludwig. And Ludwig produced or had like a pretty big hand in the first 3 Childish Gambino projects, including his last 2 albums, which were nominated for a superlative of the year.
Oh, really?
So because the internet was nominated for a rap album of the year, and that was 2013, 2014. And then obviously Awaken My Love was nominated for album of the year this year. So this guy Ludwig, man, I didn't even realize. I was like, man, but that's just a testament to his production style and his sound. Like, you can't figure it out. You know what I mean? Even if Andre did a song right now, as much as I love Andre, I would know instantly that it was an Andre song. But Ludwig, his production style is a little bit more finessed.
Okay.
But that Black Panther soundtrack is a banger.
So
banger.
How? Let's go deeper into how music could be used for wellness. Yeah, I'm gonna let you do it.
The mind is a powerful thing. I think first of all, in order for wellness to occur, for the sprouts of wellness, there has to be a desire. You have to want to be well.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So, trying to use music to heal yourself. If you're in a depressed state and you're listening to depressing music, then that's not, and I think I might have mentioned something like that similar before, but that's not really going to help you. But what will help you is if you decide that just, you're going to get up and you're going to, no matter how you look to the outside world, you're going to get up, you're going to throw on some clean but disposable clothes, and you're going to go work out.
Right. And
the music that you listen to, you'll find yourself like, when I was running in the trails, there was a song I used to listen to, Janelle Monáe's Cold War. Okay, this was on her Arch Android soundtrack a few years back. I think that I'm about 7 years old now. And I'm running in the woods, and she has this breakdown in the song, and I can't really describe it, but I know when I heard that drum roll and I heard that breakdown, and I knew Kalendo was about to hit that guitar riff, I just didn't really care if my legs were burning or if my legs were cramping up or if I was out of breath. Right. I just kept busting through the trails.
Right.
I think you have to find that music that pushes you to bust through the trails. You have to,
agree.
You know what I mean? You have to find something. You have to be in the mindset. You have to want to get out of it. And you'll be surprised if you just open yourself up. There's music all around you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like for me, like, I went to the gym today. I did like almost 90 minutes on a treadmill.
Ooh.
Yeah, I'm trying to get back right.
Trying to get back right? Yeah. You just did.
I'm
did a 5K.
My endurance back. I'm getting my endurance back.
You did a 15K.
So I did 90 minutes, and so my playlist had to be on point,
right,
in order for me to stay focused. So some days I was playing 90s. I played a lot of 90s.
What you were listening to from the 90s?
I listened to I played except for Bombs on the Baghdad. I played that, of course. I played that.
Man, that's 2000.
That's 2000. But I played Jodeci. I was playing Jodeci. I played Boys and Men. I played some Janet Jackson. Cause I played Janet Jackson with Blackstreet.
I Get So Lonely.
Yeah, that version. I played
that Velvet Rope album.
Yeah,
woo!
I played TLC.
A lot of people say that's her best album.
I played TLC. And what did I play? Then I went into like some 2000. I think I did like some Missy. And
which now okay, on that which one? That first Missy?
I played Hot Boys.
Hot Boys was on was it Under Construction?
Yeah.
Cause she got Super Duper Fly.
And I played what's the one song?
Cause Hot Boys had the song with all of my
the
girls.
remix of it. She had Nelly Furtado. You know that song?
Oh, Get Your Freak On.
Yeah, I played that.
Get Your Freak On. Yeah, Get Your Freak On. Nelly Furtado did like this weird thing with her voice when she was doing that Get Your Freak On.
And I loved it.
What happened to Nelly?
But then, and then I ended up switching over to some house music. You know, I lived in Detroit, so I'm big on house. So I played Percolator. And I played.
Oh yeah, you went.
I played.
You went back.
Dendada, all that kind of stuff. That it was great beats, and it was longer.
That's what that song is called. That the song is literally called what it says.
What time for Percolator?
No. You said that Dendada. I had no idea that was the name of that song.
Yeah. I played a couple other songs, and that got me through. And I could have went longer because I had great. But then when I went to go did weights, then I went and did more hip hop. You know.
Now me and my other brother, like all my best friends, man. Like I'm an only child, but like all my best friends, like you know. We're all brothers and sisters, you know what I'm saying? Got a lot of love there. So my other brother, man, I'm also heavily into motorcycles. So if you get a second, you can check my page out, my Music and Motorcycles ATL page. Right. And the inspiration behind that was I love motorcycles, I love music, and as a motorcyclist, me and my brother, like there's never been a time where we go out and we'll wait. Like it'll take us 10 minutes to load up and get on that bike ready to take off if we don't have, you know what I mean, trying to find the right music. And like I enjoy talking to him about music because he looks for a particular frequency to hype him up. Yep. Because he like when he gets on the bike, I'm a little bit more, a little bit more cautious. Still a skilled rider, but just a little bit more cautious. With him, he's very skilled and mostly cautious. You know what I mean? But so when he's out there cranking it up, you need some music like that. You need, especially, I know one of the albums that always got me hyped up was that first Linkin Park. That first Linkin Park, Anything the White Stripes, which is like one of my favorite groups. I left them out. I don't know how I missed them. Anything White Stripes, Audio Slave, the late great Chris Cornell. I was blessed enough to see him with my boy TSI. We went to go see Soundgarden late last May.
So how did you get into?
And the man was gone a week later. He had died a week later.
So how did you get into the alternative and the rock music?
The combination of my mom and my other brother Coily, because like my mom was real big on Fleetwood Mac, and she liked a lot of Elton John. She even liked a lot of Elvis. And like her broad taste in music allowed me to embrace music. So there was a radio station in Atlanta growing up called Power 99. And if you didn't want to listen to the quote unquote black station or V103 or 97.5, you would listen. Well, I don't even know if 97.5 was back then, but Power 99 was like the pop station. So, but being pop back then, it was pop was a little bit. It was similar, but it seemed like it was a little bit more broad based. Like artists, like your pop could be Color Me Bad to Aini Kamosi to Shanice to like it was just pop was just really, it was really broad back then. And it just allowed you to just listen for different things. A lot of dance music, a lot of techno was coming through in the pop era in the early 90s. So my ear palette, so to speak, was already kind of opened up to it, right? So I just kind of just transitioned into the summer of. So I went through my neo soul phase.
I think we all had.
I went through the neo soul
phase. Who was your favorite? Other than D'Angelo, I know you said that.
So D'Angelo, obviously. So I'll do it in terms of how I rank their albums, right? So Voodoo is my number one, right? And then Mama's Gun, Badu. But Badu is like it's Badu. You know what I'm saying? Like we all thought we was in love with Badu. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like you couldn't tell me I wasn't gonna get Badu. You know, but y'all did. Y'all told me I wasn't gonna get Badu, and you was right. Bilal,
Yes.
Bilal.
I think a lot of people slept on him though.
Yeah, a lot of people slept on him, but we didn't, because that Firstborn Second, man, that brother was our age when it came out, because he's only maybe like we're all the same age, so he was our age when that came out. Maxwell's second album, that Embrya, like I like the stuff that's conceptual that you have to, you know, it's not what you're used to hearing from them, right? And it's not taking anything away from Brown Sugar or Baduism or you know, anything that Jill Scott does. It's just that I like my neo soul a little bit darker. Okay. You know what I mean? I like dark art. I like it dark. I don't like, because music is more of like a little bit more festive. Right. You know what I mean? He's not going to send you down a dark tunnel. He's going to walk you through the park. Yep. I like the, you know what I'm saying? And this is the feeling that you get. Right. So when he sings a song about love, it seems like it's uplifting. It is. And you know, you can sing it from the, you know, from the church bellows, right? Right. But when you listen to Bilal, he's singing about love too. Right. But he's singing about when you looking at that toothbrush and you starting to uncover the things of the love that may still be there, but not with you at the time. Right. And it's still another pure form of love. Like, for example, his album, one of his albums never came out. It was shelved by I think it was shelved by, I can't remember who it was shelved by, but Love for Sale. Woo, that Love for Sale album is an amazing album. Anthony Hamilton is another one. Love him. You know what I mean? So I went through my neo soul phase, and then and I think when I was coming out of high school, I got my heart broke or something like that. Got my heart broke. Went to West Georgia. Was kind of chill. A lot of my friendships were started based on our love for Outkast, really. So that happened, and then one summer, my brother, man, we just out there in the gazebo, because you know we kind of grew up in the suburbs too. You know, we got gazebos in the suburbs. Right. So we listening. He puts on this CD, and it was Jimi Hendrix. It was the best of Jimi Hendrix. And I had never heard so many colors. I always say that I never heard so many colors. Right. And I always wanted, you know, just to hear some rock, like to hear that guitar. And then that's kind of how I transitioned into the alternative and the rock and roll, and which was a great time. Early 2000s, about 2001, about 2006, about the best time for alternative rock and roll.
Okay, so that's the same around time when I'm Gonna Go My Way. There was another song by Lenny Kravitz I like, Fly Away. Now when did that come out?
So Are You Gonna Go My Way came out in '92. Okay, and at the time, that's when your girl Cindy Blackman was still the drummer. Yeah, you know, she's married to Carlos Santana now, right? So that was '92, and then 5, which had Fly Away on there, I think that came out '98, '99ish. I think. But the album was so far ahead of its time. Yeah. I think that album could come out now.
I love that album.
I think that album could come out because he had American Woman was on there. Yeah. If You Can't Say No. Yep. Thinking of You, which was a song he dedicated to his mother. Yep. I mean, I'm naming a lot of tracks off of this. Like, you might want to go back and revisit that 5 album. That was, because matter of fact, it was album number 5. Yeah. So he named it 5.
And that was I heard, you know, Are You Gonna Go My Way, and I liked that one. But then when 5 came out, that was it for me.
Yeah, and then he came back and he did a greatest hits album, and I think See You Again was on that one, and that was and See You Again was a pretty good song. Okay. So
what about gospel? Do you listen to gospel? How does that play in your playlist, Andy?
It's been there. It's not a mainstay. Okay. It's not a mainstay. And
so when you play it, what's the mood like? Or the need to hear
it? It's on, like I'm traveling in my vehicle. Okay. On a Sunday morning, and it's on, and I just happen to hear something that's positive. It's not even something that it's not like I choose not to look out for it. Although I did hear a gospel trap song the other day. Yep. And excuse me, I'm not gonna lie, I was impressed. I think that, you know, I appreciate gospel music, and you know, the songs that I can remember growing up were the storytelling songs. Like what was that song? No Charge.
Mm-hmm.
That was a song I always remember. You know, and I, you know, like I love my mom a lot. Like who doesn't love their mom?
Right.
But I always think about her. You know what I mean? Like when I hear that song, just certain little songs like that. Obviously, some of the classics, some of the classic gospel songs. But I like bass.
Okay.
I know that sounds really shallow,
Mm-hmm.
but because I like a certain production style, I hear gospel inflections. You know what I mean, throughout different genres. But you probably won't catch me at the gas station obnoxiously playing some gospel music.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
I know a lot of people use it as a form to like lift their spirits.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah, absolutely. And you you should. I mean, I feel like gospel music is one of those, is a genre that you can trust to do that. I mean, I hope you're not going to listen to gospel music to you know what I mean, to be sad or to hype yourself up in a negative way. You should automatically have, if your heart and your mind and your ears are open to it, you should have that type of feeling. You know what I mean?
So what do we need to know in music right about now? What's going on in music right now? I know you're the music monk. You got everything going on. What's going on in music that we need to know about?
You know what? Really, I kind of had to think about it. I'm always hyped up for the Grammys.
Right.
Every year, and I think in this particular year, I really had a vested interest in the Grammys, because when I first heard the Childish Gambino album, like I actually went to California to he didn't go on tour for the album.
Right.
He did a 3-day 2 shows a day. I think he did 1 show on a Sunday, and I flew out there and went to 2 shows on Saturday. My point is that when I heard the music, I knew this guy was going to be nominated for something of the year. I call him superlative of the year. You know what I mean? And he was, and so my anticipation for the Grammys was so much, and it is every year. Even though I recognize the Grammys for what they are, afterwards there's usually like a jet lag period for me personally.
Okay.
But the Black Panther soundtrack kind of brought me out of it.
Okay.
But right now, I'm kind of just listening to just how the storylines and what's coming out next, and how that's going to shape what the summer's like. I'm excited to see what's going to be the banger for the summer.
Okay.
What big tours are coming up.
Right.
But there's just so many other things going on socially. And you have to find a balance between, you know, being engulfed in music industry, gossip, and all that type of stuff, and like what's really going on. So I'm kind of thankful for the jet lag right now, because any other time I would be spouting off a whole bunch of trivial things that are going on in music. But the feeling part of it, like what people are actually putting out right now, there's, like I said, there's usually like this little valley, and it comes after the Grammys. People prepare a lot for that moment,
right?
And you don't really get a lot of new releases going on. You don't get a lot of announcement for new projects. So people are kind of gearing up for the spring and for the summer. So yeah, I mean, there's nothing really new outside of me just telling people, hey, if you want to find out some stuff, go check out some playlists of some genres that you've never listened to before. Okay. That's the easiest way to find out about new stuff, and just let it play.
So have you heard K. Michelle? Is K. Michelle's new album, is that country or is it R&B?
Her new, I have not heard the new K. Michelle, if there is a new officially released K. Michelle, but I know that her project was country. Those were her ambitions, to be a country artist. And I feel like if that's what she want to do, then do it. Just be unapologetic about it. Stop telling people, stop telling people that it's a country album. When people listen to it, they'll know. And if they like it, those same people to be like, yeah, I listen to a little bit of everything. If your album is well produced and it's not and it's genuine, they're gonna listen to it.
Right.
You know, and you're gonna get your cult following, and hopefully you'll have a team around you that believes in the shift in genres, because that's really hard for black artists to decide. You know, I truly think that like artists like Lil Wayne probably really wanted to be a rock star, but maybe his team was like, nah, we're not going to get you guitar lessons.
Because I was listening to Neo, because he came out with a new song. And he was doing an interview, and you know, I guess it's the whole struggle of wanting to expand what what you want to sing. You know, if you like, he likes EDM, he does well with EDM, and some pop and some pop, and then he play R&B, and it's like, you know, I guess he feels like sometimes he gets this pull from us, like that he's ditching. You know, R&B. It was not that he's ditching it. He just want to expand the essence of who he is. And
let me tell you about our people.
I'm ready to hear it.
Let me tell you about our people. We will trick you into thinking that we like this particular dance that you do, and then as soon as somebody else come out with another dance, we like, man, nah, we told you we on this. You got to do, as an artist, you have to do what makes you rock as an artist. You know what I'm saying? Like, Waka knew he only had so many, let's do it. He knew that. So what did he do? He switched up. He did the EDM thing. Like, he has a huge following overseas. Neo don't need to listen to people like, you know what I mean? First of all, keep writing your songs. If you want to remain a prolific songwriter, continue to do that. But if you want to do music, you don't need to make music for one group of people at all. Right. You know what I'm saying? Because we have shown we can't even agree on who's the greatest basketball player of all time, and it's LeBron James. Like, and I don't understand why we can't figure this out.
But it's just like, okay, because I listened to like Tamar, and
Tamar can sing,
right? And she was like, you know, we put so much emphasis in social media. Right. And she said if the number of followers she have on Instagram was to tell how many albums she was going to sell, her album should have went platinum. So she had like 4 million followers. But I think when she went independent, the last song, this album, I think she sold maybe like 25,000 the first week.
But you know what? Okay, so
even that's good for independent.
If I'm retaining 80% of the profit, right, through my own independent distribution, I wrote it. I probably have access or own the studio. Now the engineering part may cost extra, but the actual production and pre-production, I own that and my tracks. That's a good come up. I think artists, first of all, you have to understand that the chilling circuit never went away. So when you understand that the chilling circuit never went away, then that gives you insight to the levels and layers to artistry. Now, Tamar and any artist, they have to decide what type of artist do you want to be. Do you want to be the type of artist that gets name brand commercial recognition? Do you want to be a group that or an artist that has a steady base? Do you want to be the Grateful Dead? Like, for real, like the Grateful Dead, you know, Jerry Garcia's been dead like for a long time. But that group, those people, those backpackers, man, they go hard. And you don't have to have a Grammy. You don't have to have 6-7 million albums sold per album. You know what I mean? Per project, because they're not even really doing albums anymore. It's playlist projects and mixtapes, right? Right. But you have to be true to, and I mentioned that about Frankie Beverly and Maze. I don't think he was ever nominated for a Grammy. Never. They were never nominated. You know what I mean? But that never stops you from, it ain't summer till you hear that song. Right. It ain't a cookout till you hear that song. Right. It ain't a family reunion until you hear that song. So find out what type of artist you want to be. Do you want to be, you know, everybody's not going to be the greatest of all, but be the greatest of you. You know what I'm saying? And people definitely going to rock with it. So it don't matter if it's Tamar, if it's K Michelle, you know, I like artists. I like those type of artists that have real stuff that they're going through, and they don't mind projecting what they're going through in the music.
I think it's authentic.
Yeah, it most certainly is.
I think that's probably why 444 and also Lemonade did so well, because I think that was really authentic albums.
They were.
And, but why do people feel that? No, who was it? What's that guy's name? He sang "Bed."
Jay Holiday.
And you heard that rant he made about, you know, the Scissors and the Beyonce's, all them who make these.
Leave people alone, man. Look, when it's somebody, we got to be careful with this. Jay Holiday had a particular point, a particular time, space and time, where he was afforded an opportunity to see where he stacked up against his male pop balladeers, R&B balladeers.
Right.
We saw what he made with his move. Now, that's not to say that his success is a direct result solely of his artistry, because he probably has a lot of bangers. It's a lot of great artists out there that don't get the mainstream, but you have to be very careful when you detract from people who do the same thing that you do,
right,
but they're doing it at a higher level and a consistently higher level than what you've ever done it at.
Right.
Because where's your credibility coming from?
Right.
Outside of your own opinion, which people have opinions. There's nothing wrong with that. But for you to attack people at this particular point, it just makes you sound like a hater. Right. I mean, even if what you're saying, even if there is some validity to it, you still just sound like a hater. And when can't nobody remember when you only had one song 11 years ago,
right?
You know what I mean? You really sound like a hater.
So what do you think about what Beyonce's dad said, that if she was darker, she wouldn't be as popular as she is right now?
We gonna do this? We gonna do the colorism?
Hey, it's still.
I think a lot of things about it. I think that's irresponsible.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I think it's irresponsible. I mean, no matter how true or facets of it may be true, I think that the music industry is very deliberate in how it chooses to exploit people, and it will definitely exploit you in ways that angles that you wouldn't have thought of. Mm-hmm. So if that's the case for him, if Matthew Knowles says that, then what is the flip side? What is the inverse in relation to Kelly Rowland?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like you had power over both of their careers and influence.
Mm-hmm.
So when you make a statement like that, even though it's regarding your own daughter, you know, the fact that you had these young ladies, and seemingly Kelly Rowland is the second most successful member of Destiny's Child. What happened with that? Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying that I know, or I'm not saying that question, you know, highlights or proves anything specifically, but it's noteworthy. So you have to be careful when you talk about now. That question can be better. I think I can go into that question a little bit more if we're going to talk about the Grammys. Let's use the year Alicia Keys and India.Arie came out, because it was the same year. And I'm trying to think, what year was that? Like 98, 98, 99, somewhere around there. It may have been 2000. I'm going to say it was 2000 for right now.
Okay.
I'll go back and fact check myself, or somebody can fact check me. So I'm going to say 2000. I think India.Arie was nominated for 7 Grammys that year, which was a harmonious number. So I'm thinking, like, she's about to rock. You know what I mean? Not the average girl from the video, about to be played. And she collects trophies.
Right.
And I think Alicia Keys was nominated for a similar amount. I don't know the specific amount. But Alicia Keys took home most, and India.Arie took home none. Now, the reason, obviously, why I bring this up is because one is biracial and clearly fair complected, and India.Arie, her whole mantra was the anti-establishment, you know what I mean, going in there.
Right.
So I don't know whether or not it was her content that they didn't want promoting that, but just the fact that she was nominated promotes her message.
Right.
But the colorism aspect, I think when it comes to marketability, I think that does have a play in how people are marketed. Like, cause for example, we've been trying to replace Aaliyah for a really long time.
We have.
Right. You know.
So who have they been trying to use?
Everybody.
What's that one girl's name?
Who?
Tinashe or?
She's probably one of the more recent ones.
Yeah.
But I mean, Aaliyah been dead since what, 2000? What's that? 2002.
Mm-hmm.
She been gone since 2002. So I mean, we've had some artists. We've had, I think, Ashanti.
Mm-hmm.
Ashanti was one. Ashanti has vocals, but she's not a dancer.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Sierra,
who's a dancer,
don't have real good vocals.
You know what I'm saying? So
right.
It's usually something that's because I've always said Aaliyah is like the best mediocre singer that we've ever had. You know what I mean? I'm not knocking her. I mean, that's an objective statement. I love Aaliyah. You know what I mean? But for what she did, she's not going to blow you away.
Right.
And she's not going to hit you with so much overstack like Janet Jackson to where the vocals is in the back of the room because it's got 20 stacks over it. You know what I mean? Literally. Carrie Hilson was another one. You know what I mean? She was another one. I mean, there have been a lot of different. I think Carrie Hilson's strong suit really was her songwriting more so than anything.
Right.
But she didn't really stack up because you have to have the je ne sais quoi. You know what I mean? You have to have that Aaliyah. You have to have whatever it was that had R. Kelly going crazy, but not actually.
Right.
But you got to have whatever that is that made all them dudes fall in love with this girl. You know what I'm saying? I think that's a hard recipe to recreate.
Right.
And not be overly exploitative. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, man, we've definitely been trying to replace Aaliyah for a long time. It's gonna be, I don't know if we ever will. I don't think that we should try to replace Aaliyah,
right? Because
that's how you end up getting into the back and forth, the competitive nature.
So I was doing my research. I said, I know we're gonna talk a lot about music. We talk about wellness in music, but we talk about music in general.
Oh yeah.
So I was watching a video on YouTube, and it was like I was on BET, and it was like this is when TLC was coming out their new album.
Okay.
And the guy asked him, what happened to the groups? In the 90s, you had En Vogue, you had SWV, you had TLC, you had some other ones, and then you had the male groups, Jodeci, Boys to Men, Mint Condition, all them. Now you don't hardly see any groups. Why is that?
You talking about like R&B groups, right? Hold on, I'm actually sending some people the link to tune in. Well, I think it's hard. I think it's hard with the group. Just with groups in general. Groups, it's almost like groups are made to be broken up now. Almost, you know what I mean? I think I'm trying to think what was the last group. Now the groups like Mint Condition and Tony, I feel like they were a little bit different just because they're instrumentalists. I mean, they're musicians. You know what I mean? You gotta divide and conquer.
Okay.
You've never really seen a group, and I mean, for all intents and purposes, I'm trying to see if I say that the right way. For all intent and purposes, right? The Beatles are heralded as like the greatest group of all time, right? They still couldn't block Yoko. Like you know what I'm saying? Like it's a group. Anytime you have more than two or three people trying to create one thing, it's hard to keep that going. And R&B music is one of those things where I think even more so today, you can see how a lot of these groups are still touring and singing.
Right.
The Silks, the Jagged Edge, the 112s, you know what I mean? Those groups still have like, they don't want to call it a chilling circuit, but when you performing at Wolf Creek, And I'm not knocking it, but it's just an observation. When you're performing at Wolf Creek routinely, it's a circuit.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And it's not knocking it, but you're not doing Phillips Arena no more. You know what I'm saying? But it's just hard. The soundscape is different right now. It's not really allowing for a lot of people to get to shine at one time. You know, even when we're looking at groups like for example, like Migos. Migos and Ray Shremmer, right? You know, we were looking at them like everyone thought that Quavo was the most talented one, right? And, you know, right when that narrative was starting to stick and people were like, well, you know, he's going to break out, and there was an anticipation for the Travis Scott Quavo mixtape, which actually that Honcho Jack Honcho is, you know, it's decent. All of a sudden, you know, Culture 2 comes out and Takeoff ends up being the lyrical star on that album. So now the production style has changed up, and the next people that come out, because Migos are pushing, no pun intended, the culture forward, people trying to catch that sound, they're going to start mimicking that sound. So the Quavo cadence is probably on its way out. Which is my point about why it's hard to keep groups together. Because momentum, the pendulum shifts back and forth. It's hard to keep everybody satisfied.
Right.
No matter what group it is, it's hard to name everybody in the group. You know, it's really, really hard to name. Like, you say you love Boys and Men, right? Name everybody in Boys and Men.
Nate, Sean, Wanye, and Mike.
You know their last names? Look, okay, so all right, so maybe Boys and Men wasn't a good example because I can name everybody in Jodeci, I can name everybody in Player. But those were those groups. Yeah. But then you have some groups like Next. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. Next, you know, Next was an RL centric group.
Yeah, it was RL.
Yeah, it was RL. You was like, well, what these other two dudes do? You know, you had one dude name was Tweet. Like, dude name was Tweet. I don't know what you're doing. You know? So I think it's hard to keep everyone happy and keep everybody paid and keep everyone's vision together.
I think that's crazy. I agree, especially when you got groups like Next, where RL is like the key focal point. So it's that at some point in time they're gonna want to push him to want to go solo, and it's hard for him, you know.
You know, I think the group that had the most, the best dynamics for that was New Edition. Yeah, because everyone was able to kind of do their own little project and experience some level of success. Right. But they told Ralph not to put that song out. Look, sensitivity. That was funny. But now when I think about groups now, you don't really know what the focus. You don't really know what is the group about? You know, are you guys producing music for the now, or are you producing music for people to catch up to? Right. And it's kind of hard, and then too, it takes a little bit longer, and it costs more money to break a group. If you got two dudes, that means you're only paying for 2 rooms. You're only paying for 2 airplane tickets. You're only paying for, you know what I mean? Right. You know what I mean? It's just a money thing. And when you got a group of 4 people, you thinking all these cats want to, you know, like, you know, as you move up higher, just the expenses going to be more. And what we've seen is, even with our favorite groups, the talent isn't evenly dispersed like that, or the recognition of talent, or even the marketability isn't evenly dispersed like that. For example, with Jodeci. You know what I mean? We know Casey and JoJo were the primary singers, and even though I think Devontae was the producer, and Dalvin did the drums, you know, he was an instrumentalist, and I think he did some production. That group was Casey and JoJo. You know what I mean? But you have to find creative ways for everyone to feel like they're getting their just. I mean, so even with women, let's look at Salt and Pepper. Yeah. Spinderella, they were beefing for a while because Salt and Pepper was like, well, you just a DJ. Right. And Spinderella was like, so? Like I'm a part of the culture of this group. You start going out on tour and see how long before people, you know what I mean? It's not going to be very long before people are like, where's Spinderella?
Right.
Because they're used to seeing, even though the group is Salt and Pepper, hell, Sade is a group.
Right.
Sade is, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not just Sweetback. Like, Sade is a group. You know what I mean? Like, her real name is Helen.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Exactly.
Sade encompasses, you know what I mean? So you just, I think you just have to make sure that your talent is can stand alone by itself. If you talk about you gonna be a group, never ever threaten to go solo, but just just let it be known. Like, all right, man, y'all keep
It's like even like
keep skipping over my tracks if you want
take
to.
me back. When I was growing up, I'm from Cleveland, so I'm a big Gerald Levert and Levert fan. So with them being pretty much family, they still couldn't keep it from Gerald going by himself. Because once he went solo and he got that, that success, it was hard for them to come back and do a group thing.
Yes. You PG, you taught me everything that I know. I had to.
Oh.
Yes, you taught me everything I know. So like with groups like you know who got the talent. You know what I'm saying? Like you just know. Like, you almost have to go into it saying accepting it for what it is. Like, make the best music you can make. For example, I was in a group.
Okay.
Yes, I was in a group back in the day. Actually, I'm still in the group. Shouts out to Springville, the Academy, Rose Red Blues. So the first group I was in was called the Academy. And I started playing guitar when I got into Jimi Hendrix.
Right.
And just came up with my own little dark folk style of playing, and it was kind of cool.
Right.
And one of my best friends, she's a self-taught jazz vocalist, just is an amazing singer, and I was under no illusion that I was the reason why people were coming to check us out.
Right.
At all. I knew she was the talent, and at any given moment, she could have broke. I mean, she did break out, but I never was like, "Oh, you broke out because you was trying to set me up." It's just you have to understand it is what it is. I just don't think the environment is conducive to groups anymore. Not right now. Not anything more than the Migos. Anything more than 3 ain't gonna work right now.
And even with them, it could
That's
be,
what I'm saying.
Even given time, it could be.
Hey, anything more than 3. But I do think that I do think that it can be done. But there's a transition in R&B that's going on right now that's not really conducive to the group model. I think groups are for early millennials and people a little bit older because we grew up listening to the groups.
Right.
Now we want to see the Daniel Caesars, we want to see the Blacks, we want to see the Bryson Tillers, we want to see those artists because there was a point in time when R&B was corny. You know what I mean? There was a point in time when it wasn't cool to love. It wasn't cool. It wasn't cool to embrace those emotions.
Right.
So now there's The Weeknd.
Right.
I think The Weeknd had a lot to do with the resurgence of an emotional type of music that black men are singing.
Right.
Black men ain't really been too in tune with the emotions, but then when you got somebody like The Weeknd coming out singing. And I'm definitely going to give some credit to Bruno Mars because if I don't, I'm going to hear it when I get home. All my people, they're going to be like Bruno Mars.
That's my next one because I thought some of his stuff was cool in the beginning, but I have to give credit where credit was due. 24 Karat Magic was a banger.
It's pop. It's pop magic. It is. He has the perfect amount of everything that you need to get a feeling from most listeners. Yeah. When you have multiple demographics listening to it, from little kids up to older, like
white, black, and everything.
Yeah, you know what I mean. Like you can't deny it. And I just think that Bruno has the perfect combination of not being black and not being white, but doing soulful black inspired music and acknowledging that you're doing black music, but being able to do it to a high level of proficiency, and it's not pretentious. You know what I mean? And he knows how to keep the right amount of people around him, to make his sound and his look a little bit more authentic.
So let me ask you
Not
this.
that it isn't, but
So let me ask you this then. Why is it that the Adeles, the Sam Smiths,
I knew you was gonna say Sam Smith next.
the Sam Smiths,
Right.
the Justin Timberlakes,
Right.
I'm not gonna say Robin Thicke, 'cause he's more R&B, and he don't really do a bunch of crossover. But those three could play in the pond of both R&B and pop with a considered soulful album. But if I'll say Beyonce, when she did 4, that album,
Oh yeah, you went back with that one.
that was a true R&B album.
It was.
And so she didn't get the pop exposure that she normally did because
Right.
it was a true R&B album. And so how is it that like a song like Love on Top could be the banger it was for us,
Love on Top, man.
but couldn't go over onto that? But if that would have been Adele, it would have been on both sides.
Because I want to say it was Selena Johnson. It's my Sora, also a really, really, really soulful artist. She said that they want R&B music. They just don't want it from us. And what she was meaning was they don't want to hear it from her and the Leela James and the Layla Hathaway and the Ro James and you know what I mean? They don't want to hear it from those artists, because those artists are putting together that real soulful resurgence. You want to hear it from Adele because you can put Adele in more markets. It's about money, really, to be honest. And Adele knew it. That's why she broke her Grammy in half. That was a show of not only guilt, but in a sense, but also solidarity. Just understanding as an artist, like, I recognize how they're trying to manipulate this. And I recognize that I'm doing a form of your music that I'm getting much more recognition for, but I can't necessarily do it to your level. And that may not have been everything that she said or even everything that she meant, but that's what I take from it.
Like, I think that's like that year she won. I think when she was going up against Beyonce.
Yeah, it was the Lemonade album, and it was Adele's that 25 album with Hello.
Yeah.
Well, it was a great song. But Lemonade, and when you talk about superlatives, you also have to think about the marketing and just and just how they steer us with what they watch. Josie and the Pussycats. That movie tells you a lot about how they manipulate what's going to be hype. But you can see, like, for example, they nominated Lorde for They nominated Lorde for Album of the Year with Melodrama. I can't really think of any Lorde songs from the past year.
Right.
But for the pool of nominees, it could have been easy to nominate a lot of people or to not nominate a lot of people. But just to mix it up, they still put somebody like Lorde in there. You know what I mean? But yeah, they just don't want R&B music from us, because to listen to pure R&B music from the people that originated it it's a proclamation of black love.
Right.
You know what I mean? And to proclaim black love is to build the roots of black love, which is to also rebuild the black family and black relationships. So clearly that could be a motivating factor right there too. We don't want to promote sensitivity and expressiveness amongst these black men.
Right.
We want to promote hypersexualization.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And promiscuity amongst all the youth.
Okay.
So it's easy to promote that because we'll fall for it. But to actually put forth the music out there that's going to make us think, like when I listen to Al Green.
Yeah. I played him the other day.
My big thing, I just been on Otis, man. I've been in the Otis mood. A song like "I've Been Loving You Too Long" to stop now.
Yeah. I've been on this past couple of days. I've been on the 5 Heartbeat soundtrack.
See, that's another one of them great soundtracks
I've been
that came out in the 90s. The 90s had all the best soundtracks.
That was my soundtrack.
Why that Black Panther soundtrack is probably about the best one we done had in 20 years. But nah, that 5 Heartbeats, man, that was real. Mm-hmm. It's a real album. You know what I mean? It's a fake story, but it's like a real, like you felt it. You felt
it. See, what's crazy about it is people thought that they were a real group. But,
right.
But the realization is they really was talking about the Dells. But
that's right. That's right.
They're talking about the Dells. And so, yeah. But yeah, that I've been on that kick lately, you know, because that music back then on that soundtrack was like killer.
Yeah, man. I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to listen to leading into the rest of this week. I might give the Black Panther soundtrack a little bit of a break. I think I'm going to go to that Voodoo album.
Okay. Now, one song I do like, but I hear a little bit too much right now. I say I don't try to listen to it, but I do like it though. Is When We.
Oh, that Tank.
Yeah.
Hey man, shouts out to Tank, man. Tank first came out like back in the early 2000s. I want to say I Deserve came out maybe in 2000, 2001. And for him to ride his career, and he's the perfect example of somebody who wasn't deterred by being on the Chitlin circuit.
Right.
Because there was one point in time when Tank was touring in very, very small markets. Mm-hmm. And he only had the strength of that song and a couple other songs that he did, but that was being his biggest song. Anytime you do that song last, that's your biggest song, right?
Right.
And some kind of way, man, he started acting and he kept himself in shape and he started doing some other things, started popping up on some festivals. And then you get this song, and then when you hear the songwriting, I don't know, man, he coming with it on that. I don't know if he wrote that, but that song is a beast.
I saw him on, I forgot what I saw him on, but he said he was on tour. He was touring with Justin Timberlake.
Oh, yeah, that'll do it.
And
that'll definitely do it.
That really just changed his mindset because he wanted to be bigger than what it is. And he had to figure out, maybe it was the production was a little bit different.
Yeah.
And everything like that. But that song right there.
And speaking of, I don't think I some kind of way didn't answer your question, but with those artists, the Justin Timberlakes and those artists that we feel like dip and dabble, it's up to us to, first of all, we too accepting. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? We're too accepting of all people when it comes to our music. When I know for me to try to be a country artist, just like K. Michelle is learning, you gotta have, it's hard to get in because you don't look the part.
Right.
So when we allow people to come in and so effortlessly use all of these elements of our music and make money and be successful off of it, and then when we do it, we're like, well, why we didn't get the Grammy? That's probably one of the reasons why.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? If you're a little bit more stringent, you know what I mean, and how and I'm not saying that we own anything. It's not about owning, and it's not about race and this, that, and the third, but it is about intellectual property. Right. It is about owning something that is the essence of who you are.
Just like Shame by Tyrese was one of the biggest songs.
That song was awesome.
That's one of the biggest songs, and he didn't get no pop play at all, and that was his issue. Like, how can I not get any pop play?
Because I think sometimes the powers that be make you choose, unbeknownst to you. So you're gonna be in Fast and the Furious, or you're going to be a music star, because the Fast and Furious stuff is paying you better dividends as opposed to Black Rose, which The Rock said was a hot, steamy pile of dog crap. Some people loved it, some people didn't. But
I think that's probably why the Neos, the Beyoncés, even the Rihannas, when they make their albums, they make a certain amount of pop songs, a certain amount of R&B songs, and they can put two singles out at the same time.
True.
Because they have one that's going to be more pop-oriented.
True.
And then one's going to be more R&B-oriented.
But you have to be a versatile artist like that. Yeah. You have to be, Rihanna is number one, the highest, probably the biggest selling female artist of all time at this point in her career. Mm-hmm. Over Beyonce, I think, and it's not even close, to be honest. But I knew Rihanna was the gem. I knew she was a style icon. I knew all of these things about her early on. I just recognized that Beyonce had the machine and the perfection in her efforts to be on top. Right. You know what I mean? I recognize that. But with somebody like Riri, I called her Riri because that's how that's what she calls herself. But being an artist on her caliber, you gotta have you have to have multiple things that you can do at a high level. So if Rihanna stops doing music right now, what can she do? And just her career would not drop off. She has a few things that she can do. Right. A lot of artists don't have that duality to them. It's like they're one trick pony. There's nothing wrong with that, but you just not gonna. If you don't have anything to exploit, then they won't do it. And I'm talking about exploit for your own gain as well. Right. So yeah, I mean, music is just different. It's just different. There's a lot of people that deserve to get heard and played, and you'll never hear about them. But there are some people that we don't want to hear anymore, and we're gonna keep hearing them. Right. I just think when it comes to music and your love of music, just find out. Just every day, just be like, I'm gonna find out something different. Go to YouTube
and be open.
Yeah, just be open. You know what I mean? Yeah, definitely. Just be open.
Be open, because I think in the '90s, the '80s, going to the '90s, because then I had that was like you said, it was Wham with Careless Whisper, and
you said Wham.
Yeah.
Wham, you talking about George Michael's group? Wham, yeah.
Them,
Wake Me Up Before You Go.
Yeah, them, and you had Culture Club.
George,
them. We all, even though we were black at that time, Eurythmics, we all liked them.
Simply Red,
Hall the Oates, all them.
Mm-hmm.
They was able to cater to pop, but also a lot of people in our arena was into them as well.
Well, they had the benefit though, but they also did not overtly do our music or our style of music and do a certain percentage of it.
Right.
They had aspects of it like Careless Whispers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that's a classic song, you know what I mean? But it has a lot of R&B undertones and overtones to it.
Right.
A lot of Elton John's music is like that as well.
Right.
But none of these artists ever claim to be doing soulful, what we call black music. They just made an element of true popular music, which should be popular to most people or to all people. But what pop music has become now has been just like it's kind of been diluted down. It's a caricature of what you're told is popular and what's forced down your throat. But real pop music has all elements of all music. That's what makes it pop.
So from the Music Monk, who do you think people should be trying to listen to? And then two things. Tell me who they should listen to, and then you'll give your closing statement.
You should listen to your heart. First and foremost, listen to your heart, no matter what it says. Far as music, try to find something that almost makes you cry. Seriously, and I don't mean cry like in a bad way. I'm just saying try to find some music that creates an uncontrollable emotion in you that you can't deny whenever you listen to it. That will inspire you to find more music that does the same thing.
Gotcha.
And you said like my closing, closing, man.
Well, whoever you want them to know about you, or whoever you want to spill in your spirit to them.
Well, thank you once again, man. I was excited, man. I was like, you gonna let me run my mouth about music?
Yes, sir.
I was like, you done messed up.
I'm a music fan, so I enjoy listening to you talk about music.
Well, thank you, man. Thank you. I appreciate it, man. I'm thankful to you for inviting me. Thankful to the universe and the cosmos, man, for kind of showing me and opening up the clouds, man, and showing me that, hey, you got a little thing going, you know what I'm saying? You got a little something going, man. But most certainly, man, follow your heart. Try to listen to something new every day. Be open. And don't be afraid, man, to rock out to what you rock out to with your windows rolled down on a sunny day.
Okay. So I'm gonna need you again
That's what's up.
Actually, I think March 12th.
Hey.
I have some candidates from Douglas County.
Okay.
I guess y'all having some kind of election coming up pretty soon.
Probably something going on out there.
And so they having something going on pretty soon. And so the lady shut up. The lady
She rubbed the hell out of that back, boy.
Miss Lotus, she reached out to me and said, do I want some candidates, to really span what all I do and still make it point of wellness.
Right.
And so she has some candidates for me. And I thought about you since you do live in Douglas County.
I do live out there.
So then that way, it'll be pertaining to you. So you might have some good questions that I may not have since you live out that way.
Okay.
So
okay.
yeah,
Cool.
But stay tuned. Thank you all for listening to our show. Thank you to my brother right here, inspired me to even branch off even more than what I do.
Hey.
In music and tap into your inner spirit, and like you said, find a song that will make you get emotional, or tap that emotion that you do whenever you try to get tapped.
Oh yeah.
And because that's a great form of wellness. That'd be a good way to allow yourself to release whatever is going on. And so, with that being said, this has been the Wellness Architect Show with your boy Kevin Thornton. Be great, be you, be authentic, and be unapologetic. We are out. Peace.
Peace.
Good job.
In the world, playing all of today's hits. You're listening to Instinct Radio.